What's good, ladies and gents? Welcome to the MKO Pugilism Boxing channel, where we talk all things boxing. Remember to like, subscribe, all that good stuff. So another fight on the card, the fight that opened the card was Craig Spider Richards versus Willie Hutchinson. Willie Hutchinson's a guy that going into this, I hadn't really seen much of him. All I knew about him, very good amateur. There was some mention of him losing to Lennox Clark, so that's the only sort of highlight. I saw some other highlights of him. He seemed to be a bit of a puncher and stuff. So yeah, he's one of those guys to watch as yet, sort of untested, unproven going into this one. Craig Spider Richards, on the other hand, had lots of experience. He'd fought Joshua Buatsi, gave Joshua Buatsi a good run for his money. He'd fought Dimitri Bivol, give Dimitri Bivol a decent run for his money. I didn't nowhere near sort of winning that fight, but he'd held his own with a high caliber of opposition, whereas Willie Hutchinson had yet to sort of go to that level. So going into this, I thought, well, probably the experience of Craig Spider Richards will see him through, will sort of see him through to a victory here. I just thought it did more experience. He'd have to know how he'd sort of know what to do here. But not ignorant, I know that Hutchinson's good, and it turned out to go in Hutchinson's favor here because overall, this was a fight pretty much quite, you could argue, kind of dominated by Willie Hutchinson, with Craig Spider Richards mainly sort of playing catch up because Willie Hutchinson, he played this fight right. He didn't sort of try and go head to head with Craig Richards, but he just sort of used his advantage. He used his speed, he used his movement, and from round one, he was able to sort of just pepper Craig from outside, moving in, moving out, nice combinations, throwing those long straight shots against Spider Richards. And Craig Richards was just that sort of one step behind. So you had Hutchinson just darting in, darting out, side to side, darting in, landing some combinations, ones and twos, straight, sharp punches, landing his shots, moving out, moving away, dancing around. And it was like for Craig Richards, he couldn't really adapt to that. He couldn't, it's like he just couldn't really make the adjustment to the speed. And I think, that's what won it for Hutchinson for me, was the fact that he was able, his movement was better. He kind of made Spider Richards look a bit pedestrian and a bit slow at times. And I think just those quicker hands and quicker feet are what basically won him most of the round. I mean, towards the end, when they both got tired, that's when Craig Richards more came into it, and he did land a few shots. But again, it was just too slow, and I would say it was just kind of too little, too late, because for me, Hutchinson really racked up quite a good lead going into the championship rounds of the fight. I felt that if Craig if Spider Richards could like score a knockdown or something like that, he would have had a chance. He could have evened his fight up and maybe taken it. But it's just the fact that he was just that one step behind. He was a bit too slow here, and that switching of stances as well was something that was really working well for Hutchinson. Hutchinson kept switching southpaw frequently, then back to orthodox, and it was like Craig Richards had never seen that before from this guy. So it seemed like he wasn't really prepared to deal with those little nuances and switches in the game of Willie Hutchinson. And I think because he just couldn't adjust to it, when Hutchinson would turn southpaw, he'd have success and turn back to orthodox. And it was like Craig Richards didn't really do anything to adjust or to change, or maybe as he changes, you counter him on the change, or you hit him as he's changing stance. And as some have mentioned, I think Base the Kid mentioned that even the fact that Hutchinson was like turning his back and walking away, he was taking walks in those latter rounds, Craig Spider could have just run after him and whacked him on the head when he's turned around, because even if you hit him on the back of the head or whatever it is, because the man's turned his back, that's his fault. That's his problem. So he could have jumped on him at certain times. There were certain openings where Craig Richards could have taken him, but at the end of the day, I just thought he was just outgunned in every department here. The speed, the movement, the youth of Hutchinson, they were just overall, the overall package was just a bit too much. He was getting out, spared out, manoeuvred. The switching of stances was just working a treat for Hutchinson, and he was a well-deserved winner. Won on points, didn't knock Craig Richards out like he was saying in the build-up, but I had to go with a pinch of salt anyway. It was a good fight. It was a sort of entertaining scrap, but there was one clear winner, and that was Hutchinson. I think Craig Richards, he had a few good rounds, but it was just nowhere near enough to win the fight. I think for Richards, it was either he knocks Hutchinson down a couple of times or he loses the fight. So he couldn't produce that, and he lost the fight. It looked like he was just sort of one-paced all the way through Richards as well. That was another problem. There was no change of pace, whereas Hutchinson was mixing it up, getting in, getting out. With Craig Richards, it was that predictable one pace all the way through. And I thought, Hutchinson, he just saw that coming and he dealt with that slower pace of Richards very, very easily. So, yeah, it was great. Good performance by Hutchinson. He goes onwards and upwards. And for Craig Richards, we'll see. I don't know, he could fight on and make a few adjustments. But, yeah, he's got to go right back to the drawing board. In my view, but he was brave. He was still trying to the end, but as I say, he just wasn't up to the task for me. But yeah, good victory for Hutchinson. Let me know your thoughts on it in the comment section below, and until next time, it's MKO Pugilism, over and out.